always forget. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about InterateUX. Yeah, so we're a very young community. We have been doing this since I think 1 year already. Wow, the time flies. So we are a community. We started this idea of a UX design community because we realized that there were many communities out there because of COVID, and people everywhere, everyone went online. But we realized that there were not the space for people who are going to boot camps and finishing their programs, and there were not space to do more like practical things to prepare you for entering into your first job sometimes, or people in career change to give them a space to learn about UX. And we say, okay, we were going to do this group where all these people are going to be very welcome, and we will do some sessions like practical sessions where you have to unmute yourself and do things. And one of the things we do a lot is weekly meetings. So in these weekly meetings we have some speakers that they will talk sometimes about any subjects about UX, UI. But other weekly meetings are, for example, portfolio reviews. So if you're working on your portfolio, you can submit your portfolio and someone will review it for you, like a senior intermediate designer. We have resume reviews like today. Today's we have a very good guest that it will help you with your resume. We are trying to encourage mentorship, and one of the main things we have, and is very interesting, are the design challenges. So if you are working in your portfolio, you don't have experience, and you want to have a very nice portfolio piece to show there, from time to time we do these design challenges, like once every a couple of months. And the last time we did a design challenge, it was a 2 weeks long event. And we pair designers with developers. So at the end, we show them like a real product design and build actually. So we know people that have been actually they got a job thanks to the case study in this. They starting the design challenge. So I encourage you to keep a look in our website and participate in the next event we will have this time. We have a Discord channel too. I am going to paste the link in the chat now.
It's already on the chat.
Oh, thank you very much, Diana. And yes, also you have any questions, you need help, you need some review, you need some help from other people, just connect to the Discord channel, and someone will help you. Next week we have a portfolio review. We do this kind of once per month, and the reviewer is a very interesting person. He's a visual designer with almost 10 years of experience in branding and motion design. His name is Jorge, and he's working. He's the lead developer in a company that he will be our reviewer next week, and he will be presenting with his company the redesign of the branding of his company, maybe in 3 weeks more. So just keep an eye on that. And today we have a very special guest. It's Fernanda. Fernanda is a career coach, talent success specialist, and she's an expert about resume. She will give you some tips. So we will start with a presentation, and then some people send their resume for a review. So she will share this resume online, and she will give you some tips about how to make it better. So tips that it will help to everyone. So if you have any question, I'm not sure, Fernanda, you want to people asking their questions in the middle, or you want to keep it to the end?
So what I love is that you can share with each other right away in the chat opinion, challenge yourselves and say like, oh, I agree, I heard different. You can always chat in the chat. I try to keep my eyes open for the chat all the time. But by the end, we can actually open the microphone and share a little bit together. But through the chat, it's easier because then I can have a feeling about how things are going.
Yeah, see, I think I will keep an eye on the chat, and I will take a note of all the questions, and then I can ask you at the end. And everyone, please unmute yourself at the end if you want. And if you want, turn off your camera too, because sometimes I feel a little lonely here. So if you turn on your camera, it's like, hey, I feel like I'm with people. Yay. Okay, Fernanda, please go ahead. You can share your screen, introduce yourself, and
Nice.
all
Thank
yours.
you. Very glad to be here. Thank you for the invite. Today is going to be kind of like a different way because the idea was to go do just a profile resume review, which would be going through the resume. But I noticed a few suggestions that I want to give, a couple of do's and don'ts. But before I start the do's and the don'ts, I want to explain the reasoning behind it's a do and a don't, because then you can make your own choice. So we're going to go to a short presentation, and then I'm going to move to the resume. And when I move to the resume, I'm going to actually ask you in kind of like a voting part where we're going to do like one full resume or like snapshots of all the resumes. But let's see how we do on time, because I think that will be the easiest way to move forward. So I chose not to introduce myself, which is like a marketing mistake, and you can judge me. But I want to save time. So if you do want to connect with me, I can share my LinkedIn later. And I'm going to do a very quick intro. It's not going to be just like a photo or anything. We're going to just jump in. But like Liz said, I'm a career advisor. I graduated in Brazil as a petroleum engineer, and I went through this huge career change here in Canada. So if there is someone in Canada that went through all the challenge of getting a job as an immigrant, getting a job as a second language, or in changing careers and getting a entry-level job over and over and over, I'm that person. I currently work with a company called VanHacks, which now and then we do have UI UX positions, but mostly developers. But it's nice to keep your eyes open. And I do have my own business practice. So what I do with my clients is I teach them how to go through the strategy of applying for a position. So I teach them the strategy so they can apply for several roles. I'm going to try to do exactly what I do with them today. So we're going to start with the strategy and then bring examples. Kia, you are the best. You are so excited that I get excited for like see you moving. Please continue. But I have to say, because most people get so still, and when you move, I feel like, okay, what I'm saying is making sense, or maybe I should expand more. And I have a few jokes here and people don't laugh, only me. And I feel like, okay, I can do the jokes today because someone's going to laugh with me. So if you guys want to be silly, here's the place too. But let's start. Let's get it on. So job search. What is important to remember about job search? If I have to give you an example, an image that represents looking for a job is when you are looking online, you are seeing only the 20% of the tip of the iceberg of the opportunities you have. In Vancouver, it might be even less in that percentage, even less than 20%. So what I want you all to keep in mind is that when we're talking about looking for a job, you have two ways to look for a job. The hidden job market, which is networking, engaging with employees, connecting with people like you're doing here today, so on and so forth. And the way that everybody knows and remembers, which is job site, a specific site for the industry, the company website itself, and the job boards like Indeed, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. But those job boards only start to receive positions if they don't find in their own networking. So think with me, if we're talking about a small business, let's say a small business of 40 employees, a startup that it's very important to have a UX. What is the percentage that it's going to have from employees as a UX, UI, and a developer? Maybe 1 to 10, maybe 1 to 5, but to get more than 1, it needs to be a very big company. But if you have friends in HR or in sales, or in any other industry, that they can introduce you when that time comes, that's where you're going to get your job for real. And that's how you'll never be without job. I can say that because I might be the only person who had 5 jobs last year. Like some people may think, oh, but why are you telling me that you got 5 jobs? Maybe you're not as good as a career coach as you say, because you didn't stay within one. But I changed my job 5 times in the middle of the pandemic. Once it was the job board. One time was I was in a company that I got through networking, in an organization, nonprofit organization. It was a volunteer position. The second one I got in March. So I switched jobs and started in March. That one I got because I gave a lecture for a Brazilian community 3 years before, and they hired me. I was let go because it was March and my job was about traveling, which means no job at all. So I went back to my first internship, which I made almost 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I started working there. I just decided to move it again. I got another job in a university. This one was the job board one. I got through the Indeed process. And I didn't like at all this job. So I started to reach out to my colleagues again, and I went back to the same company. So not only I had 5 jobs, but 2 of them were exactly with the same company, just different position. So this is exactly what you're looking for. It doesn't really matter if it's your first job, your 20th job, if it's entry level or not. The more you can share what you what you want, what you're looking for, and what you like, people are going to start to remember you. The reason I'm here today, it's because one of these jobs, I met Diana, and I mentioned, oh no, I actually have a small business practice about coaching. And 7 months later, she was like, you know what? Would you like to help it out with a webinar? And I was like, sure. But if we would never shared some personal notes because it was not related to the job, she would never know. I would never be here. So that's networking. It doesn't need to be an event, a formal situation, but that's the 80%. It's out there waiting for you, and you don't even know. Oh, Istanbul, 5:40. Munir, you are crazy. Go to bed. You guys, yeah, you deserve to be in the 80%. and I love Istanbul. I've been there once. It's the best food ever. Just in case someone is looking to go for good food, very good food. But let's come back to the reality. If you don't have that big networking, the big networking itself, you have to learn how to deal with those 20%. How do you deal with that? There is a system called Applicant Tracking System, which I'll call ATS throughout the way, all the time, which is literally a filter. So let's assume you want to search about a position, a UX, UI position in Vancouver. You type that on Google, and every space means and, or every comma means full sentence and. So those are the filters you're creating on Google. You do exactly the same thing when you are searching for a position, and they do the exactly same thing with you. They get your resume, they look for keywords, and they give you a percentage. This is the best image that I got to explain what that means and how it works. So you have your resume right here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why this resume, this image of a resume is not even the ideal one because of the photo, for example. And then they import to the ATS. Once this document is inside the system, it becomes a page like a TXT, like a document with only words. There is no formatting, there is no image, there is literally nothing. It's just words combined. And it goes through this filter, and they try to reorganize in different blocks again. So for example, let's assume that this block here in blue is education, or then in here, it's going to be just one word, education. So they will assume that everything below will fall here. But do you agree with me that even when we are searching on Google, those answers, those results on Google can be pretty bad, pretty out of track? That can happen here as well. You can say Vancouver, and it can show, for example, instead of Vancouver, Canada, it can show Vancouver, US. It's not because the words you chose are different. It's because the words are just the matching is not properly. So you have to give more information. Once they divide into those buckets, what we can do is search exactly like we just spoke about, a big a magnifying glass looking for specific words. So let's say a specific word is detail-oriented. Then they're going to show detail-oriented here and a little bit of the sentence where detail-oriented is. Let's say that they're going to say that you need to know a lot about Photoshop. Then here's going to be the word Photoshop. It's going to search in there. It's going to bring to the column. And then it's going to say, what are a piece of the sentence that has Photoshop? And then it's going to rate you how, based on the keywords that this HR person chose randomly, what is the percentage that you match with those words? And this is ATS. But what is the problem? Let's assume that today, this person in the HR received 10 resumes. She can very quickly go through 10 resumes. So maybe the only keyword will be Photoshop. But then COVID came, and instead of 10, she's receiving 200. So Photoshop it might just go from 200 resumes to 198. So she's going to need to add a second keyword. The second keyword can be graduated at Langara. Maybe that will be a lot less because a lot of you, for example, said that you worked on, you studied on BrainStation. So maybe there is nothing that you can do to bring that keyword. So what do? We go through the job description. We try to match as many words from the job description as possible on your resume to increase your chance to get a higher match. There is a very trendy suggestion that I'm going to tell you, but I do not recommend. But if you decide to move forward with this strategy, do in a smart way, which is copy the complete job description on your resume with font size 1 and the color of the job description is white. When people look, they cannot see that you copy and paste the description. You're going to have a very big chance of getting high match. But when it comes here, they're going to see that the sentence you gave is the job description sentence. Fernanda, why are you telling me this? I thought that you were giving me like gold and now you're like removing gold off my hand. Because there are situations where you can choose to do what is wrong to draw attention. But you have to be smart. You have to be smart. Otherwise, it's going to getting to an interview and not getting the job. So you're going to get interviews and not get the job, which can be a lot more frustrating. But let's say right now you don't have Photoshop, but you decide to take one of those very quick courses on lynda.com or linkedin.learning. You know that that is an important keyword. Then you bring, even not being a very heavy certification on the topic, but you bring the keyword to your resume. That's a 2-hour course. It doesn't really matter. At least now you can have that keyword in a way that it's not misleading the HR person, but you can't. So I guess this is the first step that I want you all to keep in mind, because I saw a few things that I want to talk when we go through the resume part, and this can help you out to improve that. Is Nikki clever? Yes, it is. And I have to say that it's getting harder and harder every day. So I don't agree with people that says that this trick is being dishonest. It's not. It's getting harder. Competition is getting tougher. You figure out what you can do that it's the honest piece of a good idea. So, but you have to decide. What I can share about this ATS is that right now, everyone is using. Although I'm going to read here and you're going to see that it's not everyone, I think that's changing to literally everyone. When you apply for a job online, your resume isn't typically going direct to the recruiter or hiring manager. It's being processed by an ATS. JobScan, which is the image before, the website that is ATS, made a research and found that 98 of the Fortune 500 companies use ATS. Another organization in their survey said 66% of the large companies use and 30% of the small ones. But you know why? For me, it's not even 98 anymore, it's 100. Because Indeed has a very bad ATS that it's paid as they choose. LinkedIn Recruiter is a huge and very good ATS. You can have an ATS just by using search on a PDF. So honestly, the person can choose how much she wants to invest in ATS, but it can be very, very affordable. And right now with COVID, it's a lot of resumes coming up. So this is like 100% for sure. But how we're going to do with that? I gave you one idea, which is copy and paste the full experience, but I want to give you more ideas. Having keywords. This is one website that it's used for marketing purpose, where you type one word and gives other ideas of keywords. This is a very good way for LinkedIn, for example, because it's a marketing tool as well, but you can use anytime. Every time you have an acronym like MBA, type both ways. Type MBA and type Master Business Administration, because you don't know what is the keyword that they will choose. So at least once have both ways. I always recommend chronological resume, but if you do a chronological hybrid, is my favorite way to describe. Although some of you are going for an entry-level position, avoid functional. It's very hard to pass through an ATS. If you are going to buy a recommendation, go to functional because it's easier for a conversation. Chronological is straightforward, newest to oldest. Hybrid, it means two blocks, block on the top, which means related experience and chronological, other work experience and chronological. That's kind of the easy way to explain hybrid resume. And functional would be, what are the skills that they require? And inside those skills, you describe your actions. That can be very hard. Avoid tables, columns, and any sort of images that represents you as a candidate. The reason is, if you have a resume with columns, and let's assume they are using a horrible ATS, they are going to read first column, first line, second column, first line, and then the sentence won't make sense. And I saw a few of you with that style because it looks nicer. It allows you to write more, but you cannot trust if the ATS is a good ATS or not. Especially things, for example, like having your own logo, it's great because it doesn't really matter. If it doesn't translate, it's not going to be a bad sign for your resume. And it gives you some differentiation among each other, which you want to show. But do in a way that it doesn't have an impact on the result of your resume, on this text, full text. I normally recommend very traditional fonts like Arial and Helvetica and size 11, because those are the fonts that we 100% sure that the ATS can read. Because when we have, for example, a fancy font and then we copy and paste and it comes like a very strange word, which is not even a word, is like different symbols. We want to avoid that. On that note, I'm going to actually jump to the last one, because the same idea goes to send a PDF. You can choose to send a PDF or to send a doc version. But when you send a PDF, remember to send an open PDF, because it's going to be one more step. You're going to forward the PDF. The PDF is going to transform to a Google Doc or a doc, and the doc will be transformed in a text. Sometimes the ATS get an image. If it's an image, it's very hard to read. So in this translation, you can lose a lot of information, and in the second one, even more. So if you have the option, if you're great at Excel or at Google at Docs, send as a doc with a perfect formatting. I know most of you won't even be able to send this way, but remember to make sure that you can select the text on your PDF before sending. And the same idea goes for footers and headers. I do not recommend you to have, but if you do, make sure that that information is not required information about your skill. For example, on my first couple of resumes, I used to put my name as the header. And maybe no one would never know my name by the ATS because it would be hidden. So in that sense, now I moved, but I still have on the footer my name and page. So for example, Fernanda Reis, page 1 of 2. Fernanda Reis, page 2 of 2. Because then if they lose page 1, or if they need us, if they print it in a different way and they just have one piece of paper, they know that they have only the second page or the first page, and they have my name to look for that other page. If that doesn't get through the ATS, nothing goes wrong for me. It doesn't affect my application. So that's the intention. And when we're talking about resume, those filters in the image, the easiest you keep, the easiest will be for them to translate. So try to keep standard sections like work experience, education, projects. Try not to be super creative on those, because it's going to be helpful for the ATS to understand what's going on. I hate to write resumes as well. Yeah, I know, I work with that, and people assume, no, you love resumes. No, I don't. And that's the reason I don't actually write the resume for my clients. I ask them to write and I review, because writing resumes, it's annoying, is long and complicated. You are never happy. Maybe you're going to tell me, Fernanda, how I can write the perfect sentence. I'm going to come up with the perfect sentence. And next time you talk to me, I'm going to say, that sentence is crap. It's very bad. And you're going to say, but you made it. Why is it so bad? Because it's according to how much we get to know each other. So it changes, and resume, it's really boring. It takes time. It's testing. Just move forward and make sure that you can learn in time. Resume. Why I chose to work with something that I don't like? Because it's a science. It's not like, oh, okay, it's coming up with magic. It's very clear about the rules and how you can overcome it. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. How long do you think a recruiter spent on a resume, a random resume? You can type on the chat so I can see your guess. 1 minute, 30 minutes, 1 minute, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds. 6 seconds. 6. That's insane. 6 seconds. And this was a study before COVID. So my guess is that it's even less now. 6 seconds. That's insane. So that's the reason having a visual is important, but you have to have a resume that covers 3 steps: the ATS step, the HR 6-second step, and the hiring manager step. So 3 steps in just one piece of paper. When we are talking about do's and don'ts, I try to put as simple as I can and as as logical as possible and as a rule, because it's going to be easier. An attractive headline, a sentence that tells who you are, why you apply, but in a sentence that is attractive and makes that person actually continue reading your resume. It can be something I used to have on my LinkedIn, something around, I'm able to help business and people to overcome challenges in a positive and friendly way, and an avid Disney lover. So like something completely out of the box, but completely true, which is being in love with Disney movies, because in my interview, that's something that I actually bring up so they can remember me. So let's say they ask like, tell me about a situation you overcame a challenge. I always use the Finding Nemo example where Dory says, if you don't know what to do, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I know that I'm not going to do that for like a law company, but I can do for a startup. And I'm going to be like that crazy girl that did just keep swimming in the middle of an interview. And it's going to be very easy to find out that I'm that person on my LinkedIn as well. So I'm facilitating for everyone to remember me. That's kind of what I suggest here. Some people prefer keywords and words as well, but I like something completely out of the box. Your name in all pages, and name and number and page number on all pages. We're going to talk further about accomplishment statement, but that's how you write the sentences on your resume. Try to demonstrate and quantify your successes. And this is going to be a combination that we're going to talk just after this slide. Try to stick to 2 to 5 bullet points per position. So let's say you work as in a retail, 2 to 5. Then you worked as in an internship, 2 to 5. Try to stick to 2 to 5 bullet points and do not go over 2 lines because it gets very tiring, and 6 seconds you have just to get to the point. Be clear and organized in the formatting, which literally all of you did a great job. So I'm just going to skip because you got the idea. Simple font, just so on and so forth. Things that you cannot add on your resume: age, photo, visa status, any personal information, unless it's on your strategy. Let's say your visa is about to finish, but you're actually going to get a new one. Then you're going to do something that it's wrong, but in your own benefit. So if, for example, you think that your age will matter, you can choose to do something wrong, but that will bring you benefit. But that's kind of the don't on an overall point. The same idea for going above 2 pages. Ideally, you go to 1 or 2 pages. I don't like half pages, so like 1.5. Write more and go almost to the end, or write less and keep to 1. But honestly, no change. No one's going to be refused by that. It's just the visual. Avoid repetitions. And when I'm talking repetition, it means the intention of the accomplishment statement. So you can say that your ability was to create a website in different positions, but one website, your intention was to increase the SEO, and the other website was actually Google Ads. It may be the same action, but different intentions. So this is not a repetition. Make sure to have different intentions by each bullet point. And the size we already spoke, but above 12, it can be too big and it can be like kind of strange to see. And now is the most hard part. I'm gonna actually skip because I don't want to be super late. I'm gonna give you the idea. I'm gonna show the presentation, but you're gonna like practice later after we turn it off here. But the easiest way to understand what I mean by accomplishment statement is this joke, which is, how would you write, I changed a light bulb on your resume? It should be like, I changed a light bulb. Very straightforward. What is the big point about it? But the way you write, it gives an idea about who you are. And that's an accomplishment statement. Single-handedly managed the successful, upgraded, and development of a new environmental illumination system with zero cost overrun and zero safety incidents. I changed the light bulb. What it had managed single-handedly, which means you did it alone. Upgrade because the light was off, now it's on. New environmental illumination system, light was off, now it's on. Zero cost overrun, you planned, you got the lamp, you made it happen. Zero safety incidents. It means that you hold your stairs very well and you didn't fall apart. That's it. But can you tell the difference between changing a light bulb and going through all the trouble here? We can understand exactly the intention of this person. It's a joke, but this is the best way to express yourself on a resume. Study hard for interviews, the STAR methodology, but today we're going to talk about PAR, which is very similar. I lost. Very similar, but a little straightforward. So my recommendation is think about PAR for resume and STAR for interviews, but it's the same idea. Which means P stands for problem, S for situation, T for task, A, actions, R, results. So if we're talking about PAR, it means that you're going to share a problem, the actions you took to solve that problem, and the results you got out of that problem. If it's the STAR, you're going to expand on the situation, why that problem happened. Your task will be the problem, action, and results. You can find so many sources about those strategies. You can type UX, UI, STAR statements, accomplishment statements, and it's going to give you many examples. But for today, I just got one that's very easy for everyone to kind of understand. And I chose randomly, but it was one that I already had. So the problem for this example was a company was receiving calls with complaints from the customers every month, 20 more. And the complaints were that the system was hard to be installed. Done. That's the problem. The actions took was a collaboration between research and development to make an installation package more friendly, a hotline for only those complaints, and purchasing a new system to track those complaints. Those were the actions. And the result is that decrease the complaints from 20 to less than 5 complaints every month. This is literally just the description about something that happened. It can be something that happened for a long time, something that happened for a short time. It can be something that actually was purchased and implemented. It can be just a recommendation of a software. It changes according to your experience, but you can always divide into PAR. When we bring PAR to an accomplishment, let's just say you want the other one. This one or the other one? Or this one? You want the photo for this one or the other one?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, you want the picture for this one or the other one?
I just take a picture of all of them, so don't worry.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, let me know if I need to come back if I did too fast.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're welcome. And when you bring to the resume, you don't have that much time to go through all those points. So you come up with sentences. A good example of the sentence could be action verb, decrease customer complaints by quantify 75% monthly. By what are the action? Initiating the design of a new user-friendly installation package. So you break down into very small ones and becomes your resume. Here, it's another example that it's longer and it has 3 lines. So it's like out of the do's and don'ts, but it's an intentional one because it's a generic one. Here is a very specific one. You give a specifics about the percentage, the monthly, the user-friendly, the problem, very clear. And here is one that you can cover a lot more from the job position. recommended and implemented a new customer hotline and software application, resulting in an increase of customer satisfaction and more timely resolution customer complaints. Although you're not giving any numbers, you are giving a full description. If you have a couple that are that long, it can work. But for me, this one gives a lot more information about who you are because it's giving you numbers. And think about having numbers as percentage because this avoids the over and under qualified. Because let's say we're talking about Google, 20 complaints a month, it's nothing. But when you decrease 75%, you're not saying 20 to 5, you're saying percentage. So they're not going to assume that you are underqualified. But don't do that for all, because if you do that for every single position, they will get that you are being generic. So try to balance out specific numbers and percentages. That speaks louder than generic words. I agree. But you know what is the story that you're going to remember? Tomorrow, if I ask you what is the percentage, you're not going to remember the 75, but you're going to remember that there was a very big complaint every month. So you have to balance your resume. The story sticks. So, but I agree. That's all the presentation that I had for today. We still have a few minutes, but I want to kind of close this part saying that success isn't always about greatness, it's about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success and greatness will come. Remember the part where I said writing a resume is not the fun thing, it's very complicated and time consuming. As you do it, it's going to be easier and easier. It's going to be copy and paste and creating a new Frankenstein. But it's going to be easier. You're going to have the specific words as time goes. You're going to have lines that will make more sense. It's going to be something that you copy and paste from your like big, long resume to the specific tailorized one. But until you get so many resumes, will be a hard wall to climb, I guess. And now it's the time where I want to ask you what you want to do. You want me to go like 1 minute each resume because we have 9, we can try to do that. You want to do like one top to bottom and then we can figure out how we can do that. What is your idea? What do you prefer? You can type on the chat, you can open your microphone. I'm open for suggestions.
I think because we have 9 resumes and we don't have that much time, but we have some time. I know people might stay a little bit longer, but maybe for each resume, maybe you can highlight one thing that's very important. Maybe maybe a good thing and maybe something that it can be improved, like the main things about the more outstanding things, maybe.
Okay, so I have 9 resumes here at my screen and they are in a random order. So give me a number from 1 to 9. So we can choose the resume we're gonna see. 4. There you go. Done. 4. Let me open here. Share. Number 4. Let me just move this down. 1, 2, 3, 4. You are here. Kia, is you here? I saw your face earlier.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Okay, then it's gonna be nice. All right. So for example, let's try to share a little bit as one. I'm gonna open my chat here so I can see what you think. Chat here. Put this to the side. So like I said, columns, it might be a challenge. In this case, in the top, it doesn't change anything. Full name, full email, nothing changes. But what about if you say, I'm a UX, I have a UX research. It might damage because it's 2 columns. So you can try to seek or use in a way that it won't affect, but in this way it might, and we avoid. My point for you here, and we haven't spoke, is the profile. When you describe yourself in a sentence, if you have space, it's a great idea. But because you already do a tailorized resume, it's almost like repeating yourself. If you're applying, you are the candidate for this job. So this can take some space that you may need for the accomplishment statements. You can choose. Check out your portfolio. It can be your like main line, your headline, and you can even add here UX designer, my main portfolio, or it can be something in here, your like top line, and your portfolio could come here in the block where you introduce yourself, which is so here's like some ideas. The company you're working. Here's another good point. So this font, it might work well at ATS because you can still see clear, but you see like how the numbers is smaller than the fonts. Irvana, Arial, and the simple ones, Roboto as well, those normally are easier to read. I love to add links, but this is something that it might help, it might not help, but I always feel like playing safe and give it a shot. If they print, they won't see, but at least if they don't, I know that it's going to be easier. So for me, it's something that it's good to have. Lead a remote team to build a voice-controlled chemistry teaching tools that allow students to use Apple Siri to run experiment remotely. Resulted in a publication in a scientific journal. The first one, you're giving a lot of information, which is great. Build voice, you're saying that it's Apple, you're saying that it's Apple Siri to be more specific, you're talking about remote. You don't have numbers, but you are talking about you as what you do, how you are. But the second piece resulted in a publication in scientific journal. That one is where it differentiates you from anyone else that did something similar. So I would be even more specific. What is the journal? Why that happened? Resulted in, it's one good sentence to make it smaller, but give as like a highlight, bring some more personality to it, I guess that's the word. And it's not an accomplishment statement yet, but I can see that with those information, you can make into an accomplishment statement. The other thing that I love is instead of profile, having highlights. So instead of profile, having a highlight where you do bullet points, and I love bullet points because it's easier to read, those 6 seconds, and having publication in a scientific journal, it's a huge highlight. Having recommendations, it can be a highlight. Winning any sort of award. Liz mentioned that the competition about having a full project by the end of one of the events here, this is an accomplishment. You don't need to judge between very, very huge accomplishments to small accomplishments. But as long as this highlights you as a ideal candidate, I would put in the top to draw more attention. Design an iOS app that helps university science students to learn lab techniques using mobile VR. Here is the perfect sentence to add a number. How many students in the University of Science they had? 10, 20, 100, just add this number. How many lab techniques you could say that they had? 1, 10, 20? Those are not the other numbers. I like that you started with verbs and the one that is present like always in the past, which is great. But that's the idea. For me, even if you go, always start with a verb just to create this pattern. But most important is to how you differentiate from other people. Many people already created apps, but only you created for 100 university students in science. So that's how you differentiate. Mentored by InterateUX student by hosting lectures, holding office hours, and providing feedback to students' assignment and presentation. Here is exactly that second sentence from the accomplishment statement where you cover many different bullet points, but you can write literally one bullet point only for hosting lectures. If you want to say how many lectures, how many people attended, what was the topic, how you organized it. Office hours, it would be hard, but you could say, for example, if you worked weekends, it could be something that you create a different accomplishment statement. How you provide feedback, if you do, I don't know, good, bad, good, or if you do like super honest ones, or if you challenge them, or if you like how it's your style, assignments and presentations. Yeah, so just challenging on those. Lead a team to creation and development of voice control remote learning. And here it's exactly the repetition. Learning led a team to a creation of development, voice control, remote learning, and research tools. You already gave this very similar answer somewhere here. So this is you losing space. Bring something else. Maybe what were the tools? How was the development? What was your style of development? And it can be the same goal, but completely different bullet point. So I had chemistry research and simultaneous mini minor research group. Yeah, that's the same idea. I think you got the idea. Education pretty straightforward. Brain station, UBC, nice. This is kind of like the things that you do, especially in the beginning, but it's not as important. So you put in the bottom. But let's assume they say, I'm only hiring brain station students. Then you can choose to live here and bring as a highlight, as a profile, as something that brings up, or even here, brain station UX designer, somewhere that it's very easy to read. The second column, I love that idea of using keywords because it's going to cover the ATS part. And something very nice that I came up with some clients is that I divide between knowledgeable and expert. Because it's hard to say, I'm very good, I'm basic, I'm intermediated, but expert and knowledgeable, it gives you the same idea. And let's say iOS, you already have 2 experience as iOS, you can put as like expert. But Android, you only tried 1, so maybe you can decide to go as knowledgeable. You have the experience, and we'll help you to kind of guide in there. 2 strength, perfect. Those are literally the words for the ATS. This is the keywords for the HR and hiring manager. The beginning, the highlight, the profile, it's for the HR, and then the ones following would be for the hiring manager. But again, when we're talking about 6 seconds, that's, let me show how they see. They see as a 1 page. I hope you agree that it's very clear, it's very easy to read, there is a lot of space, so it's easy to follow up, it's easy to write. Let's say she's talking to you and she has a piece of paper, you have some space here, you have space here, so she can write or he can write comments on that. So overall, your resume is very good, but I would say that the only piece that can be a challenge is the ATS in a way that helps you to bring information, because if they type Figma, the sentence will be stretch, envision, and principle, but not something like, for example, if they type iOS, they're gonna come up here, designed an iOS app that helps university science students. So this is a more valuable part for the ATS. Let me see, you are also quiet. I don't know if
Can I
not
ask a
seeing the
question?
chat.
Can I ask a question, or do you want it in chat?
No, you can say. Now now we did a full one, so we can open to
Okay.
voice.
I'm wondering, like, when you say don't have columns, do you mean like literally have everything running, you know, from left margin to right margin? There's, you know, it's just here to here to here to here.
I saw one here. I saw one of here, something like that.
Okay, so very traditional.
That
then.
you have spaces as well. Traditional, but you can play with colors. You can play with your logo. You can play with something that it doesn't really matter for the ATS. I saw another one that's a little more colorful. I love this one. It's very beautiful. Something like here. It's a little more playful, a lot of information. Maybe I would break down into expert and knowledgeable here just to have us break and make more appealing for reading. Another very straightforward, but you can play with different things. What I can show you, I do have one in mind that it's kind of like not creative at all, but at least has some fun in it a little bit. Let me see if I have it here.
Fernanda, so while you are looking for that, I've heard like a good technique is to have two resumes. One is a very plain, boring one that you will upload in the site of the company. But actually, if you get a call, you will have the same version, but something more visually appealing, easier to read, and all that. So I think that's a good option too.
Yes. And the playful can go as a website as well, because then they can find very easily and straightforward, and they can choose to be a playful. But for example, here it's 2 columns, but it's a column that doesn't impact on the ATS. So you can have something like that, but it's going to take a lot of space. So it depends on how much information you want to add. Something like that, it just can get so confusing. And something like that is just for the playful resume, for when you are actually introducing yourself and showing, not for the ATS, because based on what those 5 bullets represent, based on being native, based on being fluent, basic, what it means. It's work, English, it's like friendly English. You don't know. This is the type of thing that appears nice, but it doesn't help in anything. Here's another very cool one, like as a big logo, almost business card, but here nothing plays. And again, the skills kind of a weak spot, but nice, something that it can be. If it's okay to be ignored by the ATS, you can play around. This is the type of resume that I love for an interview. Very straightforward, very specific. You have all the information, you have space that the person can type, a timeline easy to follow, education easy to follow, and some visual. Even the picture, when you already got the interview, they have LinkedIn. So there is no way you can hide who you are. So that's a nice one. Let's see here. I'm going to ignore this piece because it's text. But if you had something like that it's just image, if the ATS doesn't read, it doesn't really matter. You don't lose anything. The same goes here. You don't lose anything, but you don't have a lot of space. And for sure, I don't like the about me, because if you're applying, I should get a cover letter, or we already met each other. So I would use something that highlights your experience.
Fernanda, we are still viewing Victoria Pixie resume.
Okay. And I was showing on LinkedIn. Just there you go. Now, can you see the whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, so let me try again. So here is the icons that it wouldn't change anything for you. Music, traveling. Here's the other icon that it wouldn't change. The ATS doesn't need to read. But the about me, it's something that it's a waste of space. You can do highlight. The other one that I showed was, can I go back? Here, which is kind of like a huge business card, and you have a clear timeline. So this is one that I would take for an interview, just like Liz just said, maybe more playful and more colorful, but same idea. And something like this could be resume that it doesn't really matter for the ATS. Even if they don't get it, what it's here, they can still read it very well here. And the other one that I mentioned about having 2 columns that wouldn't impact would be this one. You don't have a lot of space, but if this keyword is works, construction work, experience, new company, it doesn't change, and you can still have some space to play around. And the other one that I was saying was one about the education and the English and Spanish basic here. This is what I don't like. When you're talking about language and you have 5 bullets and you complete all 5, how can you know? It's based on what? It's based on being native, it's a working English, it's a working Spanish, basic because you took at high school and you can say, hi, my name is. Like, what are the considerations you are making to consider these 5 stars, these 4, and these 2? It's different than if you have a CELPIP or a TOEFL, where it gives you a specific grade, but then you do English CELPIP, and then you do percentage with the balls. But this is something that it doesn't bring any advantage to you. It looks nice if you do in a nice way, but in this case for languages, I don't see any value. Any other questions? You can open your microphone as well. Let me see in the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm not quite sure what's the best approach, because I remember last night I do have 2 resumes, and one is like the method you just taught us, and it actually got me into the interview. So you were right. So I just want to let you know, let other people know, the technique you provided was definitely working. And the other one is like more creative, and but the problem I have is when I was in an interview, I actually brought them the second resume to them, and then they were like, why are you giving me this one? What about the first resume? So yeah. I'm not quite sure which is the best approach.
You can ask before, is it okay if I send you a short version of my resume so it will be easier for you to follow today on the interview? I did something very similar. I assumed that the interview was going to be video because they sent me a Zoom link, and I created as a presentation. And when it started, it was just a voice. There was no video in there. So I had to like reorganize myself not to show the presentation because I didn't ask. So the biggest piece of advice is ask in advance. Is this will be a phone call, a video? Is it okay if instead of just giving you a random question about tell me about yourself, if I present you with a nice presentation or interview or resume or anything like that? I guess the playing safe idea. The other thing is for your LinkedIn, because you can say, oh, I actually added on my LinkedIn, or add as a link to your own resume, and then it will be easier for people to follow. Anywhere where it's not required an ATS, it's where you go with the friendly, beautiful, and super designed one. I guess that's the idea.
I have another question.
Let me just go through here, and then we can do 4 more minutes. It's okay, Diana, if you go. Okay, Liz, okay, 4 more minutes, nice. Accomplishments for college. I did understand your question, but it can be anything from being assistant professor, it can be your grades, it can be an award you got, or any award that you got by participating or by being a nice student. It could be something around that line. Which resume submitted was your favorite? I haven't checked. I didn't came up with like one favorite, but I guess the biggest point for me was the columns pretty much everyone used, and that can be a no-go when it comes to ATS. But I did love the one very colorful one, which was Lauren. I thought that it was like if I, good job. Yeah, let me show why. Maybe I can do like a minute of the why. When you can see it's very packed. It's probably the one that after the presentation, you would say, Fernanda, you are nuts. You just go against everything you said because it's a lot of information. It has images, it has icons, but at the same time, I can tell that it was, she thought through the way of creating it. And now with this presentation, it's going to be even more clean because she's repeating here contact and contact. Now she understands that this is not required. Maybe the second column here can somehow fit in here, so she can keep the same formatting. I love those icons because it's a way that recruiter have 6 seconds. Oh, I know what that is. I don't. I imagine this is Photoshop. And then right away you come up with that idea about this person has the experience I'm looking for. And I guess for the sentences is a bit long, but as you can see, like we were talking about the lines, which one you think it's gonna be easier to read? This one or this one? Like if she just displayed it, managed to a second bullet point, which looks like she was going to do, it makes easier for you to read in those 6 seconds. Yeah, and I love that it's clear, but it still had some personality. I guess that was it. I like this one. It's very clean, easy to read as well, but I would be concerned about the column part. Nice, clean ATS proof, but not something that you would draw the attention for the second part of the interview. So Jasmine, if you do have a second resume, this one is perfect for the first one. It looks a lot with the one that I created for my clients, actually. Just the education that I put lower, because it's something that I don't consider as important, but it depends on your, I guess that my advice here, it would be just reorganize the priorities. Experience projects are higher priorities than education skills. And leadership experience can be even a bigger priority when it comes to that, and volunteer in the middle. So I guess I would move those 2 blocks to the end. Clear, simple, easy to read. We already spoke a lot. Same idea, clear, easy to read, but has a lot of personality. I guess that's what I liked, the personality, the color, easy, even in black and white to print, it would be nice. Clean, strategic, very oriented. I like the bold part, although this is kind of a shorter cover letter, and pretty much everyone asks for a cover letter, so it would be not using a lot of time, a lot of space, sorry. Same idea. This is kind of, if I'm not wrong, this is removed from LinkedIn, right? It's not something you came up. It's like the LinkedIn printed. If it is, or if it's not, it does look like just those like download from LinkedIn. If so, remember the sequence again. Awards is very, very, very important to show off. So move that up. I know that like games and hobbies, it cannot be the best example of an award, but if you have a reason, yes, go ahead. And I guess that's it. That's kind of what I had to say. Yeah. I like the icons, very straightforward.
Fernanda, we are like 8:41. We went a little overboard, but don't worry, that always happening for an interesting presentation, and many people stay until the end. Like we have still 24 people in the room, so thank you very much.
Good job.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, very good presentation, Fernanda. I think in the past, I think ATS, it wasn't a big deal, but as you say now, for COVID, like everyone is using that, and suddenly we are fighting with a machine. So be careful with that now. But obviously, if you have a contact and you are sending the resume, you have more freedom to play with other style of resumes. So just keep in mind that this is a good advice for COVID. The how to manage your have a resume for the ATS. And there are some sites that you can upload your resume and the job you are applying for, and they kind of give you the match and what is the percentage of the if the ATS will select your resume or not. So those are very good sites. Many sites out there that you can use for free.
Yeah, I guess JobScan is a very common one.
Yeah.
Match resume. VanHacks is creating one, the company I work for. So in the future you will be able to do that. So it happens a lot.
I wanted to add something.
Top resume, yes.
Thank you, Fernanda, for
Sure, go ahead.
your time. I added here a Notion interview preparation that we have, InterateUX, we have in our Notion. It's free, it's open source for you guys, so you can see the template there, prepare your speech, your interview preparation there. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Leticia.
And
Amazing.
also put in the chat Fernanda LinkedIn. So if you guys would like to connect with Fernanda afterwards, please send her a message that you met her here at the InterateUX, so she will know. And if you need any help, reach out to Fernanda. Maybe she can help you out or anything.
Sure.
Or what is the
Thank
best
you
way
guys
to
for
reach
inviting. It
reach
was
out to
amazing.
you?
Thank you very much for coming, Fernanda. It was very good session, and I hope to see everyone next Wednesday for the portfolio review. Submit your portfolio if you haven't done that already. Probably we have some selected portfolios already, but you never know. Some people don't show up.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, we're still talking, of course. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much, and see you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Fernanda, thank you. Bye, Diana. Bye, Leticia.
Bye, thank
Diana.
you.
Thank you, Diana, for doing it.
Yay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.